Okay, guys, I hope you heard that, and if you didn't, you'll have to tell me if you didn't hear that, because I was trying to play music for the first time, and I don't know if it worked or not. So you got to tell me if you can hear me, first of all, and then tell me if you heard the music, and if you see my awesome Pepe picture with the horse, because who doesn't love Pepe? I even have more for you guys, because I know you want to see more Pepe. If I can figure it out. Okay. Oh, and we're in the background too. Woo! Well, you'll see us in a minute. More Pepe. And there you go. Because who doesn't love Pepe? Oh, he didn't work. Dang. I'm trying new stuff all the time, and it shows up. Oh, somebody did hear the music. Okay. Well, who knows? Maybe it's a user error then, Patricia. Sorry to say it. Okay, guys, I have a raffle I'm going to do really quickly because it's full, and that's exciting because I was having nobody on it for a while, and it filled up today, last minute, so there it is, all the people, and 1 through 12, there's still this gold raffle, and Susan, if you're on here, I don't know if you're going to be on, there you are here. You did, yep, because I went and looked at my PayPal, and on the same day, there was two different payments. So I put you on both. At first I was confused, but all I did was finally do some homework, and I figured it out. So you're on both in the same numbers you requested. I believe everything is correct. Everybody's had time to look at it and let me know if not. And I will do this, and then we're going to have a fun time with John Smith again tonight. So I'll introduce him in a minute if you haven't met him, but I'm going to do this raffle really quick, guys, because it's full. There's still a few spots left on the gold. I will put whoever wins on this, I will put them on to a gold spot. And it is only one flag bar, guys. I just put a picture of these both so you can see the front and the back, and a 2-ounce bullet, just like you see in the picture. So I will show that when I do the video. And also, you guys, I have other stuff in here. You should go like it, watch it. I put it up there for a reason. So do that for me, because you love me, right? Nobody loves me. Why was I created this way? I just got louder in their ears, probably. Oh my gosh, what is happening?
People ask why, I ask why not.
Okay, so can you do the drum roll, John? Oh, he's good at that. All right, here we go. Good luck, everybody. Woo! Number 6. We're
Who is number 6?
Whoa, wrong one. That's Lisa. Lisa's probably not here, but good job, Lisa. That is awesome. She's going to be very excited because this is, if you guys don't know.
Now, what does she get? The bullet?
She gets the bullet. 1 bullet. I don't know why I brought 2 bullets down. Hold on. Let's show everybody. Okay, guys. So this is John Smith, a.k.a. John Doe, if you haven't met him from the previous video that we did. But they get 1 2-ounce. She wins 1 2-ounce bullet, right? That's 2 ounces. Oh, you've got one, so you can feel how heavy it is. And a flag bar.
2 ounces.
And a flag bar, which is 1 ounce. So that was a front and back image of it. And I don't know. I guess you could do an engraving or something on there.
That'd be perfect for an engraving for a gift.
You can make it into a dog tag or something. I don't know.
Birthday gift, graduation gift.
They make cases for these kinds of things too. You know, oh, not upside down. And then just because John and I plan ahead, we both wore blue, obviously. That was our intention.
Great minds think alike.
I mean, it matches the flag.
Yeah.
We called each other ahead of time. I said, what are you wearing? And he was like, I think I'm going to wear my blue shirt. And so I was like, I'm going to wear my blue shirt too. So,
Right, yeah.
Right? Thumbs up, guys. So, you guys, that's John, and he is very knowledgeable. What I'm going to do is I have notes so that I don't mess up anything. So don't forget, there's still some spots on the gold raffle, guys. They're $10 spots, just a couple left. That's a satellite. Okay, so you win $100. I'm doing a 1/2 ounce of gold.
Okay.
And so if you pay $10 on the satellite, because there's 10 spots, see, so it's a $100 spot on the gold.
Mm-hmm.
But if you pay $10 on the satellite and you win, or if you pay even $50 by 5 spots, right?
Right.
You get a $100 spot.
Okay.
So see, I still get the $100, right? Because 10 times 10 is $100, and then it fills a spot, or somebody can pay $100 for a spot.
And that's not even using Common Core math.
Yeah, no, I can't. I can't do math regularly. If I had to do Common Core, it'd be even worse.
No.
It's a 1/2 ounce of gold. is what they'll win on the
Half an ounce of gold.
That's what I'm raffling.
That's
so
a good deal.
I don't have a half ounce of gold, but this is a whole ounce of silver. So it'd be half this, but it'd be gold. So it's worth, well, right now it's worth at least in the 800s, but it will probably be worth a lot more than that if we go to tier 1. So this is John. This is John Smith. That's his real
My
name,
real
or
name.
maybe it isn't. Maybe it's John Doe. We don't know. That's when he goes anonymous, right?
Yeah.
Anonymous name is John Doe. In case
It's like a raincoat. You wear it when you need it. You don't wear it when you don't need it. Uh-oh. I broke her.
I was really thinking about that a lot for some reason. Okay, so John has a vast wealth of knowledge, and a lot of people are saying hi to you, so you should say
Hi.
everybody.
I can't really see the chat
hard to
from
see.
where I am.
We moved
but
it far away so that
yeah.
you guys could see our blue shirts and Trump. But he has a vast amount of knowledge.
I know a little bit about a lot and a lot about a little.
That's true. I could probably quiz him on something that he wouldn't know about, but I don't know yet what that would be. Because when we first met, he was talking to me about a bunch of this stuff that we're talking about today, and I was looking at him like,
Yeah.
okay, so anyway,
I think I got her with a little bit of information overload.
you know what?
Just
No, it was more like
Yeah.
I just wasn't even listening. But now, so
which means she has a nothing box. The
Yeah, it's
information
just-
went in one ear, spun around that nothing box, they shut out the other.
didn't
one.
even file it.
Right.
Even if I file it, it's usually back there somewhere where I can retrieve it and I can go, oh yeah. So as I was doing this, I didn't remember any of the stuff that you talked to me about except for Gnosticism. That's the
Right.
only word.
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell you what you told me about Gnosticism, so it doesn't matter. So the point is that now I am coming up almost. I mean, his level's still up here, but I'm getting there, right? So last time he was here, he talked about some stuff that even I didn't know about. And I know about it today, just since the last time he was here. So we're going to talk about that because as I was doing the last video, if you haven't watched it, watch it, share it, like it, subscribe, put a bell, all that stuff. But it's called The Spider Woman, and it's about Louise Bourgeois and Billie Eilish. Oddly enough, I found a connection between these two people. One is an artist who died in 2010, and she's creepy. She did a lot of spider sculptures. And then Billie Eilish is a creepy singer. And so if you look in that video, I talked about...
Billie Eilish, is that a female?
Yeah.
I have a friend that I used to work with that talks about her.
She's creepy. What does your friend say?
He made a comment about how guys are trying to sexualize her, and she's intentionally not trying to sexualize herself because she's wearing loose clothing. And
Yeah,
stuff
that's
like
what she
that.
says,
And
right? Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's totally satanic. Her videos are totally satanic. She talks about being depressed. She speaks suicidal ideation, and people just,
Yeah.
they love it, and kids are killing themselves. So cool. Yay, she's doing the job. Anyway, while I was making this video, I came across the name Wilhelm Reich because I was looking at Louise Bourgeois' counselors that she had for almost 40 years that were psychoanalysts. And so one of these psychoanalysts was a Freudian, like second generation Freudian understudy. And then we brought up Wilhelm Reich, and I didn't know who Wilhelm Reich was, didn't care. I was looking for a photo of Wilhelm Reich, and I found this picture of the Cloudbuster. Never had seen that in my life, never had heard of it. And I'm going to talk just a little bit about what I know, and then John's going to talk about some of the things he knows, and I'm going to try to find pictures and websites as he talks, you guys. But what I know about it is Wilhelm Reich is obviously involved with Freud. This is a Freudian concept that he created what's called the Cloudbuster to help in a drought,
Right.
to create rain from putting these tubes or things into the water.
Right.
Now, I don't know much about this guy, so I'm just going to tell you what I know. And it looks like almost an artillery weapon.
Right. It looks like an anti-aircraft gun, almost.
Yeah. Yes, it does. And then somehow you can shoot clouds into the sky.
Well, he deals with something called orgone energy.
Yeah, well, hold on. We're going to get to that.
Okay.
So that's all you see, this is all I know. Now, I know that there's this orgone energy, or orgone, or whatever, and we're going to talk about this more because, Brenda, you're going to want to listen to this because some things that are maybe being used for bad can also be used for good if we understand what they are. And I need to understand fully, and I always pray for truth. And John will happily bring me a lot of information, and so it brings me the truth. So it happened to be that I was looking at this, and I also got into some stuff about a woman named Blavatsky and her topic of theosophy, which I know very little about. So I'm not going to talk much about that. But now that you guys understand, he knows a lot about this stuff. And so he's going to talk about some things. And in the interim, I'll pull up some pictures and some articles. I'll get a picture of the Cloudbuster first.
Okay.
And I'm going to turn this around as soon as I can see what I'm doing. Oh, Lordy. Oh, my gosh. This is... I'm blind. I don't have my glasses on, but it was worse with the glasses on. Okay. So back to they'll see it. Back to this. I'm going to pull up the Cloudbuster image. And John. Yeah, I have Jameses and Johnses in my life, a lot of
James
them.
is
And
my brother.
Joes.
James is my
Of
brother.
course, James is his brother. So John is going to talk about what. Now remember, not everybody is on your level of
Right,
knowledge.
I understand that.
So try to.
Not to insult, but I'll dumb it down as much as I can.
Well, and
because-
some of us can handle it because a lot of us have been paying attention to this. So it's not that we don't understand some of these things. It's just that if we get into anything too confusing, I'll probably stop you. But go ahead and tell us what you know about.
Okay, Wilhelm Reich didn't create orgone energy. He discovered it, but the reason he named it orgone energy was because in his research, that's Cloudbuster. In his research, he was writing books and doing research on the orgasm and how the orgasm is actually transferring energy from one person to another, because the third principle of natural law is everything is vibration, everything is energy. So anyways, for some reason, he came up with the Cloudbuster, which you see a picture of there, and I don't really know exactly to the minute detail how it works, but basically orgone energy is called Qi. The Chinese call it Qi. They call it prana energy. It's called life force energy. It's energy that permeates within every living organism, whether it's animal, mineral, vegetable, human, plant, whatever. There actually is a computer device that you can stick your finger into, all 10 of your fingers, one at a time, and it'll measure your energy throughout your body. I can supply the...
What is the name of that?
I don't really know. It's
Okay.
like a little square cube that you can stick your finger in. But I'll supply a link to that video in the comments when I get home and look it up.
So when John and I were first talking, just cut you off for a second.
Yep.
When we were first talking, I said, "Oh no, I don't think this is good because this is a Freudian concept."
Right.
And I said, "I don't think this is a good thing. I'm worried about it." And also, I was able to connect it through this guy here,
Right.
this Benjamin Krim guy who's talking about Maitreya. And Maitreya is somebody who's giving him information that for the age of Aquarius, the dawn of man, and that Maitreya is going to send a human form that will answer all our religious problems, right? And it also, there it is, the United Nations. It was in the very first part there, and it was related to the United Nations and the New World Order and the age of Aquarius. So I had some serious concerns about that. And I said, John, I don't think this is a good thing because I have connections here. And then what did you say about that connection to the Freudian concept?
When you mentioned Maitreya, I mentioned Project Bluebeam.
Okay, that's right.
And how Maitreya could be the Antichrist in a way. I've heard of that idea. But if you haven't heard of Project Bluebeam is a secret black ops government project that was started by NASA, I believe, where they would be shooting a hologram against the sky for the second coming of Christ. And Raytheon, from what I've heard, was 20 plus years ago, was working on technology to solidify these holograms. Now there's one little secret that you got to learn about holograms. Yeah, it may look real, but holograms don't sweat.
Okay.
That's how you can tell. Like today here in Billings is 95 degrees. If you see a hologram and it's not sweating, you know it's not real. Everybody else around here is sweating.
Right. Of
Yeah.
course. I mean, that seems to go without saying. I
Right.
feel like I was even looking at some of this stuff with Louise Bourgeois because she did a hologram thing in the 90s, but then they said the hologram thing fell out of popularity. Not related?
I don't know if it fell out of popularity or if it was stopped because too many people knew the truth about it.
That could be, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway, is orgone a Freudian concept or is it something else?
The name Oregon is probably a Freudian concept. The actual energy is real.
Okay, so the energy is not made up by the idea of the energy was not made up by Freud.
No, it was discovered by Wilhelm Reich. Kind of like Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity. It was always there, but it
Right.
was actually discovered by Wilhelm Reich.
So he didn't just say, "I think there's something here. I'm going to name it this."
Right.
How did he discover it? With that machine somehow by making the rain clouds?
I'm pretty sure. But there's also something else too, is that in reading his books or in watching videos about him, he learned that there were actually UFOs behind the clouds because he was busting those clouds and he's seen the UFOs behind the clouds he was busting.
That sounds demonic.
Yeah, it sounds demonic, but it's
But I guess it could
It-
be angelic.
it could be angelic, it could be demonic. We don't know because we don't know what those entities were, you know? That happened, I don't know when, back in the 50s or something?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was in the 1950s.
Right.
Okay, so oddly, I know this doesn't seem related, but this is how my brain works. When I was
Okay.
looking at this Louise Bourgeois lady, this is some art that she did as this hologram thing. And it says the opportunity to utilize the technology came about when the production company C Project approached her to collaborate. It was a short-lived enterprise which folded in 2000 with the dot-com bust, presented holograms as a new art. Okay, so he didn't say it went out of popularity, but for some reason it folded along, according that company, folded along with the 2000 bust. But it also, said made in the late 90s. Holograms depart from her normal use because she makes these hideous sculptures, and but they
Abstract
retain
art.
the artist's signature, dreamy and okay. So I guess it was the bust of the .com. Anyway, I don't know how these are holograms, but it's her art somehow in a hologram, and I didn't include it, but it's interesting that we're talking about it today because I remembered that as it connects in my brain in a way that I'm going to file and come back to.
Yeah, I think in the method of 3 degrees of separation, as it were,
Yeah.
because when
Exactly.
you talk about her
Oh, no,
art,
this
I'm
one.
thinking abstract art, and when I think abstract art, I'm thinking that's part of the 10 planks to the Communist Manifesto and, stuff like that, because I've read a book called The Naked Communist by Cleon Skousen, and he lists all the plans that the communists had to take over the world. And
So,
stuff,
with
like-
the Nazis were making UFOs,
they were.
or they were building them, and they were using that hover technology.
I think they were reverse engineering something. Yeah.
Okay, so who is this Blavatsky lady?
Helena Blavatsky was one of the founders of the Theosophical Society, and she was very heavy in something called metaphysics. Metaphysics is the realms beyond the three-dimensional physical
She's
things that
familiar.
we deal. Yeah.
She at
She
the
does
time
look a
of-
little creepy.
was she at the
but,
time of like Nazism or anything like that? She's an occultist of some kind.
Yeah.
Should we look at
here-
Wikipedia and see what Wikipedia says?
Yeah, what does
specifically?
Wikipedia say?
Because they're
Okay,
truth
there's
tellers.
Wikipedia. If you look on the right under her
I know. Sorry, hold on.
name, it shows you what her the years that she was alive.
1831
Right.
to 1891. She
Right.
only lived 59 years.
Right.
I think she's been included in Nazi kinds of discussion or something to do with that, but I'm not sure. So go ahead anyway.
A
You talk
lot
about
of
her.
people claim a lot of falsehoods about somebody because they want to make them appear in a bad light. I remember there was a book put out by the John Birch Society about the United Nations, and they had a picture of her in there and say she was a Satanist and all that stuff. But what they didn't say was that she dealt in the metaphysical. And the way she dealt in the metaphysical was that she wrote a couple of books. There's supposed to be 2 volumes of her books called The Secret Doctrine. And The Secret Doctrine is supposed to be the history of the world and the history of mankind. And there's supposed to be, from what I remember, there's supposed to be about 7 races and sub-races to humanity. And right now we're in the 5th race. And the 5th race right now is called the Aryan race. Now, Adolf Hitler gave that a bad name.
All right.
Right?
Okay.
Before the Aryan race, there was the Atlanteans. I'm sure you've heard of the Atlanteans.
Sure.
Before the Atlanteans, there was the Lemurians.
Okay. Like L-U-M, like
L-U-M-E-R-I-A-N-S.
Yeah, Lemurians.
Right. That Lemuria is on the western coast of the United States and in Hawaii and all that stuff. That was sunken below the ocean. Atlantis was in the Atlantic Ocean. And I think Socrates, the philosopher, either Socrates or Plato, I think Socrates, yeah, he wrote stuff about Atlantis. Because Socrates was over in Greece.
Right.
But, he wrote some stuff about Atlantis, like Socrates' Secret of Atlantis or something like that. I was reading about it a few days ago. But yeah, Helena Blavatsky, that was her magnum opus, as it were. It was The Secret Doctrine. And
looks like she has something called Isis Unveiled.
Yes, that's another one. She wrote a bunch of books. But, yeah, Isis Unveiled was another major book.
So where I have concern, right, is now I pray for truth, so I'm not too worried about it, right? But I don't know what other people do for their truth, so we don't want to confuse anyone.
Right.
I agree with you that I've been under the impression that this is not somebody that's to be trusted for good occult type of. Now, here's the thing is, I say black magic and white magic is all magic, and I know what the Bible says about dabbling with magic. You don't do it. And you don't go to mediums, and you don't do witchcraft, and you don't do any of these other things. You're getting into trouble. That doesn't. So that being said, I don't know what she was doing, and I'm not judging her where she was, whether she's condemned to hell or anything like that. What I'm curious about is getting the truth about everybody, right?
Right.
And so when we look at people who talk about Isis and godmothers and Mother of God, and even included in the Catholic prayer, calling Mary the Mother of God, and if you're Catholic, don't get offended and chill out. We can talk about this another time.
Right.
But what they're trying to do with the Isis and the Maitreya, I even think, and some of these other things with the Mother God is they're taking away from the true God, the one true God in heaven.
Right.
And so my concern for her, she's talking about Isis, and I don't know how she's talking about Isis because I haven't read her book. And I don't know anything about this Wilhelm Reich, so I'm willing to admit. But I think John is of the belief that these people aren't doing or weren't doing anything that was meant for bad occult use. And again, if Oregon is a real thing, it could be used in a good way, but it might have been being used by bad people. I don't know if that's Wilhelm Reich or not. What do you say about that, John?
Well, as far as Wilhelm Reich goes in Oregon, Wilhelm Reich had 2 classifications of Oregon. He had deadly Oregon energy, which was bad, and he had positive Oregon energy, which is good. And nowadays, people are using what's called cloudbusters, and they're using it because they understand how crystals work.
Okay.
Now, crystals are part of cloudbusters, and what I think he probably did use crystals in his cloudbuster, but I'm not sure. And let's see, they're also making what's known as tower busters too, because with this new 5G coming out, they're saying that you got pyramids there.
Well, pyramids are not usually good either, right? Because those are the Pythagorean solids, and that's one of them.
Yeah. But here's the large Oregon healing disc. What it does, supposedly, is that it converts deadly Oregon energy into positive Oregon energy.
Okay. Now, this is interesting what you just said.
Okay.
There's a deadly Oregon energy. Do you
Right.
think that has been being used in chemtrails?
I believe that it is probably being emitted by cell towers, but maybe the chemtrails do have a part to play in it to magnify the energy. because I know that we use barium, strontium, and aluminum, and aluminum is a highly reflective substance.
Okay.
So
But that might be hologram stuff too, huh?
it could be. I don't know for sure.
Just thinking out loud.
Yep. But if you look at the pyramids in Egypt were not tombs. They were energy devices.
Okay, I can get on board with that. Well, yeah, they do hijack everything, and I did talk about how they hijacked Egyptian knowledge in one of my
Right,
videos,
right.
and they tried to make us all believe Egyptians were light skinned.
Now, back then, the Egyptologists want us to believe that they had a hammer, a copper chisel, and they built the pyramids in what, 20 years?
Right. Well, that's
We couldn't even.
That's impossible.
We don't even have technology nowadays to lift some of the blocks on those pyramids.
So they clearly had
today's technology.
a different technology, which I will
Yeah.
agree with you 100%. And I'm not going to say it's demonic or not. I don't have
Right.
enough knowledge about that.
Right.
So, that being said, is it? So let's say they were emitting it into the air, and obviously that's not God created. Well, it could be God created in that some way, but God didn't mean it for harm for us, right? They
God
probably
created, human manipulated.
Thank you. Oh, another hijacking, right?
Right.
So, and we were talking about, what was it I was saying about the carbon, the altered carbon. I saw that somewhere about altered carbon. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. I'm just kind of filing things in my mind.
Yeah.
But what I'd say is if there's a good organ, does that reverse? Is that what you said? It reverses something?
It cleans it up. It cleans the energy up, because the deadly orgone energy can affect our health, it can affect our mental well-being, but people are making these little biscuit type things that you see, and they're about the size of a biscuit.
Like those little circle, these
Right. Those are called tower busters, and what they do is people take those tower busters and they put them at the foot of cell towers, and when it radiates the energy up, it cleans up the energy that's coming out of the cell towers. Now, these things are made out of, there's crystals in there, there's aluminum in there, there's resin in there, and if we look at the way a crystal works, it's piezoelectric. Piezoelectric means that it's...
How do you spell that?
Piezo means that it's like we have crystals in our watches, right?
Okay.
We have crystals in televisions, LCD television, liquid crystal.
And silver.
Right. These crystals emit electricity under pressure. What?
Piezo?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. They emit
electricity when they're put under pressure. Now, when you put a crystal into a pan and you fill in this this body filler or whatever you use, when it dries, it creates pressure on the crystal, which emits electricity from the crystal.
So you're saying they're using these? I apologize.
Yeah.
But you said something that caught my attention.
What?
You're saying they're using these at the bottom of cell phone towers?
Yes, because people are being affected by smart meters. They're being affected by cell phone radiation. The people that are being affected are more sensitive to it than other people are.
Okay, so
in a negative way.
So if we got 5G, now Newt Gingrich said that we have to get 5G because whoever gets 5G first will control the world currency. Will control the currency of the world.
Right.
I think he did not say world currency. That's a misquote, guys. He didn't say that, or I would have been triggered by it. No, he just said the currency for the world, because right now the dollar is the currency for the world. It's everybody. Because of Bretton Woods, people are trying to get out of the dollar, but they're getting gold. China's trying. Other countries that probably, we know Gaddafi was trying. They're trying to get out of the petrodollar and get into their own thing, and that's a problem for the United States. Now, when Newt Gingrich said that in order to have control of currency, we need 5G, I believe he was saying that because of quantum computing. Because crypto no longer matters with a quantum computer.
Cryptocurrency?
Correct. It's
Okay.
binary, right? It's built on a binary system.
Right, ones and zeros.
Right. So once you get quantum computers that are ones and zeros and everything in between, it's not it's not crypto anymore, right?
Right.
Not in the way that it was. I don't think it's safe anymore. And so I also know cryptocurrency uses a lot of energy. A lot of energy in all of this, everything that we're doing. So we get 5G, but it's unsafe.
Right.
Is this the answer to making it safe?
I don't know if it's the actual answer, but I believe it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. I don't know if Brenda's still here, but I knew she'd find this really interesting because Brenda and I have been talking about this, and I'll tell you guys why. John's not going to know much about this thing that Brenda and I talked about, but I've been having some serious questions about Serial Brain 2. And Serial Brain 2 having a video. Serial Brain does gematria.
Gematria.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm skeptical of it because it's how the cabal talk to each other. But if you don't know how they're talking to each other, you wouldn't learn gematria, right? So you'd have to learn it to kind of know how.
I'm familiar with one form of gematria.
There's several forms. So
Right.
Brenda's here. So some of us have shared concerns about. I said I'm not buying it. Serial Brain did some decode, and it makes sense to about 0.5% of anybody that listens to it. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, there's hundreds of thousands of followers on this channel. Right. Now I know the guy who narrates it. He's not Serial Brain. He's not the one writing it up. So this has nothing to do with LT on And We Know, guys. Right. Nothing. LT is a God of man. A man of God, excuse me, good Lord. He's a man of God, and I prayed with him, and I support him 100%. My concern was with Serial Brain's decode of the spray in the air, and what we're saying. I said, I'm not buying it because this breakdown said that there was going to be something that Trump is saving the world with, right? And he's going to spray it in the air, and it's going to reverse the chemtrails that have been in the air. Now, John having no knowledge of this Serial Brain stuff and me having questions about it, I find it really interesting, and I might have to rethink my research on this and say maybe I jumped the gun a little bit on my accusations, but I'm not totally buying it because it just seemed, you know how you get that too good to be true feeling too.
Yeah.
However,
that sixth sense.
I also have felt that if we were going to get 5G, there had to be some way to protect us in some way, right? Or at least the elite, right? Maybe not you and me. You and I could get cancer.
And we're not going to be walking around with tinfoil hats either.
Tinfoil entire suits, right? Well, and it's a slow kill anymore. I mean, it doesn't seem like they're really trying to do it that way. I don't know why. I'm not sure.
I've seen this a meme on Facebook a couple of days ago that showed the chemtrails, and they said, well, if they can't bring us to the gas chambers, they'll bring the gas chambers to us.
Correct. So that being said, maybe there could be a reversal for it. Maybe there, and I have indicated that I believed that there might be a protection against 5G because of what Newt Gingrich said about the currency. Mm-hmm. Because if we go to the gold standard,
right.
And we're going to have to do something digital, and the amount of energy because of crypto and things with binary, we need quantum computing, but you need 5G for it.
Right.
You have to have it.
Which means 5G, those cell towers are going to be, I think I remember reading, every 200 feet apart in order for it to operate.
And I'm not even sure, right, to the extent. And so if we're going to have that kind, how can you jump up? And a lot of people are scared. They're saying, I'm scared of 5G. It's going to kill us all. And I'm saying, I'm not scared of anything. Right. But I felt at that time that I had actually made a video, and I said I felt like there's going to be some way to protect it. And then people pointed me to Eric Dollard, who...
Yes, Eric Dollard. That man he is the only person to recreate Nikola Tesla's inventions.
Yes, and guess what happened to him?
He's living out in the desert in his car.
Yep, because they bulldozed all the things that he was doing.
I think one of his people he was doing research with, or somebody got him hooked on methamphetamines.
They did.
And they ruined his life because he knew too much.
Jeez.
Oh,
this man is brilliant.
I have a video, and actually, if you go on YouTube, there is a video called Ancient Knowledge, and in that video, he talks about frequency and how sound affects people and everything like that. The guy is a brainiac. I would love to have met him.
He's still alive.
He's still alive?
Yes.
Cool.
He still goes to conventions and stuff. So they might have gotten him off the meth if he was on it, because he is still alive. He's functioning.
Good.
He is extremely brilliant, guys. Almost impossible to understand. It's so over your head. He has some interest. You ever watch the one about the sun and the moon that he is?
No.
Or other planets?
The only thing I've seen about him was that interview that he did when he's sitting in his car out in the desert and he's talking.
That's the one.
That's the one?
I swear that's the one.
Well, I remember in the interview, he was talking about how they had a church organ being played at some church in San Francisco, and the way the church was laid out, it was on a ley line.
Yes, the ley lines.
The ley lines.
That's something I
yes.
learned about a little bit early on. Yeah.
Yes.
How do the ley lines work?
Well, ley lines are basically energy grids.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's Eric right there, yeah. And basically, ley lines are energy grids throughout the world, and I've heard an idea that it's basically spiritual highways for the demons to go from one place to another.
That makes sense.
Now, there is a video that I know of who a guy grew up in an Illuminati family in Pennsylvania, or was it Maryland? Anyways, there's two satanic pedophile towns that are like 20 miles away from each other in Maryland and Pennsylvania, and this guy says that there's a ley line that runs right in between the towns, and when these pedophile acts are committed, it transmits energy to these ley lines, and that ley line can shoot the energy all over the place.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, because I looked into ley lines at one point. I've heard people talk about it, but I never really got into it anymore.
Right.
So this is a good connection
Yeah.
that brings it back to something I saw a long time ago when I very kind of almost first started getting into this stuff.
Yeah.
So we have somebody here by the name of Brooke Federline in the chat who's
Okay.
asking about wondering if it if the positive side of the organ, do you think, in your own knowledge, this is an opinion, guys, we are not experts on anything except for maybe gold and silver, but
I've never even claimed to be an expert on that.
well, I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I'm an expert in training.
Okay.
Do you think that could help MK Ultra victims? Do you think that? So hold on. Before you answer that, I'm going to say something real quick.
Okay.
I did a video on nanobots and Morgellons.
Yep. Morgan.
And there's probably a satellite indicator or signaling that the
tracking device.
tracking
Yep.
satellite, and that gone. Obviously, it almost seems like old technology because it's growing these fibers out of their body, right? And people are getting sick from it, like Lyme disease and syphilis. So, if somebody turned off the signaling devices, that could help people wake up, and kind of the MK Ultra wouldn't be maybe so hard on them or whatever.
It's kind of like the movie They Live.
Go ahead.
Have you ever seen? If you've ever seen the movie They Live with Rodney Toombs, otherwise known as Roddy Piper, they
oh yeah, They Live. Absolutely.
Yes, They Live.
I'll pull that up.
That's like a cult classic for those that know about the archons and stuff.
Yeah.
But
that is Roddy Piper, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But basically, they had a device that sent out an electromagnetic signal to keep people docile and asleep and all that stuff. And he used his sunglasses to see through the matrix, as it were.
Right, so that he could see what people...
Right. Now, there is a video clip where, I'm sure you've seen it, and if you watch the movie, there's a scene where a preacher, it's a black preacher in front of the LAPD, and he's talking about our owners, how they've owned us from birth to death, and these owners, right there.
Let's listen to it, guys. Tell us if you can't hear it, but you should be able to hear it.
And I'll explain what he's talking about after the video.
The venom of snakes is under their lips. Their mouths are full of bitterness and curses. And in their paths, nothing but ruin and misery. And the fear of God is not before their eyes. They have taken the hearts and minds of our leaders. They have recruited the rich and the powerful. And they have blinded us to the truth. Our human spirit is corrupted. Why do we worship greed? Because outside the limit of our sight, seething off us, perched on top of us from birth to death, are our owners. Our owners. They have us. They control us. They are our masters. Wake up. They're all about you, all around you.
Okay.
Now, what he's talking about when he refers to our owners is he's talking about the archons. They're called, the Islamic people call them the jinn, the Christians call them demons. Different names for the same thing, basically. Now, when he says they exist just outside of our sight, we can see things within the visual light spectrum. These archons exist just below that within the infrared spectrum. That's their natural form of existence.
Okay, so we don't see it.
Right, we don't see it. But they do have the capability of switching frequencies so they come into our visual light.
So these are going to be
frequency.
older, more powerful demons. If they were
They
demons,
exist, from
they're
what
older
I
and more
understand,
powerful.
they existed 2,000 years before Adam and Eve did.
Yes,
These were the ones that were accidentally created by Sophia.
Well,
in ancient,
yeah.
Right. But and now I could talk forever about these things because I've studied them for so long.
So real quick, let's come back to this. We will come back to this Archon
Okay.
thing. Do you think that natural Oregon, could help MK Ultra victims? Like, do you think it could reverse?
No, I don't. I
Okay.
don't.
Not in any way.
Not that I can see. No.
Well, so something I could research another time. Then we'll file that, Brooke. Okay, so go on.
Okay, now these archons, they are an entity, and entities do need some. Yep, David Icke, that guy knows so much about him, it'll blow your mind. But these archons need energy in order to survive because they are energy beings. Now, energy comes in different
So they're
forms.
like vampires.
Yeah, they're vampires. The energy they need is low vibrational energy. Emotions emit energy. Love and fear are the two basic emotions that we create. Every other emotion is based off of love and fear. Love is a slow vibration. No, love is a high vibrational energy. They can't deal with love. It doesn't do them any good. They deal in fear, hate, all the negative energies because that's a low vibrational energy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a tuning fork. When you hit one tuning fork and put another tuning fork next to it, that second tuning fork will stop vibrating. It's called a sympathy vibration. What they do is they can get into our minds. They're like mental parasites, as it were. Like the banking system. That's a parasitic organization.
Kind of like in the book, the screw tape letters where they whisper in your ear. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same concept.
C.S. Lewis.
And what they do is they give us all these negative emotions and stuff, or influence us to have negative emotions. And when we have that negative emotion, it puts out the energy that they feed off of. The best way to defeat that is to not only to recognize them, recognize how they operate, but to counter that with higher emotions of love, peace, and stuff like that.
And what about, and Jesus says that. He came to bring peace and
yes.
joy to our lives. So what about, is this in a hierarchy?
Within the archons, there is an actual hierarchy.
Not within all the rest? Like a demonic hierarchy?
Oh,
Like
yeah,
the
there's
fallen angels and then the...
There's definitely a hierarchy within the archons. There is a lady I know of. She's from Massachusetts. She wrote a book about the archons, or she called it the jinn, as it were.
How do you spell that?
D-J-I-N-N.
Okay.
I can't remember her name. She's a blonde-haired lady. But she wrote on how they operate, the different levels within the archontic structure, what different entities, what different archontic entities do and stuff like this. Green jinn, there's blue jinn, there's red jinn, there's black jinn. Different ones have different powers, as it were.
Her name's not Thea Harrison, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay. I'll keep looking.
Look up Revenge of the Jinn or something like that.
Do you think that Star Trek has been not Star Trek? Do you think that Star Wars has been telling us about this stuff for a long? Like, are they?
Yeah. Star Wars is definitely one of them because It is. They talk about the good energy and the bad energy and stuff like that. If you can,
Yeah.
kind of like
But I think
Battlestar
they-
Galactica. You remember that show?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Revenge of the Jinn. No.
Scooby Doo, I guess.
No.
You can use that. We're looking for a book in
Yeah.
particular, and I don't know. Is this something you recommend people read?
Yes, definitely. If they want to know, basically, know thy enemy.
Yes.
And
It's not
in-
stuff. Pray the armor of God.
Right,
before
right.
you ever read or
But
research anything, and ask God if you even should. But if you
Right.
got to that point where you're saying God wants me to know more about this subject,
Right.
this might be a good book. Is what
Right.
you're saying? Okay.
And
gotcha.
even like the military has a
Yes.
strategy where
The Jedi.
if you want to beat your enemy, you got to know how your enemy operates so
Right.
that you can find their weakness and capitalize on their weakness to defeat them.
But what's so interesting is they have a mind control Jedi group in the military. Are you familiar with that? It was made
is
into
that
a movie
Super,
as
Super Soldier Project?
it's okay. So it's
Project
called the
Talent?
Force Battalion something FBE. Like I can't remember. Anyway, they made a movie as a joke to try to joke about it called Men Who Stare at Goats.
I've seen that movie. I haven't seen the movie. I've heard of it.
That's what that's about.
That's a Black Project, yeah.
The
That's
mind control
probably from
Jedi
DARPA
assassins or something,
Yeah.
probably.
Let's see.
That's why I say that, because it's like you get all these intermingling terms and movie ideas, and for sure, like Jedi was definitely part. Go ahead,
Lauren.
Jedi was definitely in the movie of Star Wars, but then they also have like this Jedi mind control military group that's real. But then they make a movie called Men Who Stare at Goats. You can click more results, and then we'll go through more.
Where's the cursor? There it is.
But it'll, they'll have these movies about it that they give us the truth in plain sight, but then they don't really, they joke about it. They made it a funny movie
Yeah.
where there's also a lot of LSD and stuff used in it, which is an MK Ultra thing with using drugs and obviously trauma to alter the psyche. But the
Right.
drugs seem to help with that. In what way, I'm not exactly sure. Brooke probably might have, even though Brooke might have had this situation, doesn't mean she necessarily understands how it works, but she might understand how it works.
Right.
And she's in the chat. But, the drugs and all that stuff, that was given to us in that movie, Men Who Stare at Goats. That's exactly what the movie was about. Well, it'll come to you, and when you find it, like, you can put it in the links.
I can do that because she also gives a interview or a couple of interviews.
Okay.
Vengeful Jinn. That's the name of the book. Vengeful Jinn.
Yeah, we'll try and find that.
Just remembered it.
So this, again, I think is one of those truth in plain sight types of things, and it's in multiple movies, not just one. I mean, Star Wars might be saying a lot about it. Men Who Stare at Goats is saying a lot about it.
Right.
And so in that instance, we're getting the truth, guys. It's out there, but it's hard to collect it. So it's like, who do you go to? Who do you listen to? What do you believe in? Again, I would say
Ellen Guiley. That's it.
Rosemary
Ellen Guiley.
Okay.
This is a book that is also in PDF format online. You could probably download it for free.
Are you guys almost done?
Yeah, go ahead. Almost
And also, Rosemary Ellen Guiley has interviews on YouTube about the jinn and how they operate and stuff like that, which is very informative.
So, like I was going to say, what I always do is, this is good to have knowledge. Like he said, know your enemy. I absolutely agree with that. I say that all the time. Just pray. If this is something you're not interested, fine. Don't even worry about it. If it's something you're interested, just pray. Just pray. All you have to do is pray for the truth from God, that God reveals only His truth, and that everything is struck from the record. And I believe if you still feel the one true God in heaven, I'm not talking Lucifer or any other God, you'll have protection to be able to understand what you need to understand and be able to talk about it the way that John and I do. And I do pray that over all of our viewers. I pray that over anybody that listens to this channel. I do pray that even over people I talk to. So that's something I try to cover you guys with, even if you don't think about doing that yourself. So this is all stuff that we were talking, it gets demonic, and you have to be careful getting into these realms, because even in movies like Harry Potter, there's actual witch incantations in those movies. And if you do say the wrong thing or say it out loud, you could actually summon a demon into your life. So always pray the armor of God and the protection of the Holy Spirit before you even decide to look into it in the first place.
Just like that very dangerous book that I was talking to you about last time I was here, called The Lesser Keys of Solomon, where according to Jewish folklore, Solomon used certain incantations to harness demons so he could build his temple.
The lesser keys?
The Lesser Keys of Solomon, which is also called the Goetta.
He had enslaved demons, right?
Right. He enslaved demons to build his temple. The book is called Goetta.
Oh, it's not. There it is.
Yeah, right there. That book there has actual incantations that you can read, and that book also lists the demons and their hierarchy and structure, and which demon has control over a certain amount of legions. Because remember when Jesus cast out the demon and they went into the pig?
That's, with Legion.
He said, "We are Legion."
We are Legion, yeah.
That's what he was talking
about. Because we are
about.
many.
Right.
I'm called Legion because we are many.
This book here explains, okay, this is one of the head demons, and they have legion, or they have control over X amount of legions or whatever, But there are also incantations in there that he used.
So, real quick, John, is it safe to read this book?
Reading it is one thing, I believe, but I wouldn't read the actual incantations.
Okay.
Because the reason I would not read the incantations is because when Solomon summoned the demons, I don't know if he verbally did it or if he did it by reading them or reciting them in his head. But even if you recite them in your head, you're still putting out that energy to them.
Now, I've read from ex-Satanists that reading it might be okay, but saying it out loud, definitely a bad idea.
Right, yeah.
Never say it out loud.
I would not advise anybody to say it out loud.
Now, as far as reading is concerned, we don't know.
Yeah.
So since we don't know, again, if you're going to look at a book, you should pray first before you even look at it, right? You pray.
Yeah. Be in the right frame of mind.
And if you're meant to look at it, because there's got to be a way that somebody can, God is bigger than Satan.
Oh, yeah.
God is bigger than Satan. So if it is put on your heart strongly, because I guarantee you most people, if it's put on their heart strongly, they don't want to look at it. They're like, I don't want anything to do with this.
They know their limitations.
I don't know why you're pushing me towards this, God. Yeah. But God continues to kind of push them, and you pray. And God has done that with me, especially with this last one. It was one of the darkest videos darkest research I've ever looked at. Yeah. And some of it made me physically ill. Yeah. Because, and I didn't include a lot of that in the video because it's just, and I see that, Brooke. So I'm not recommending this book to anyone, guys. All I'm saying is we're talking about this discussion. We're talking about the incantation of demons and things like that and what you have to be careful of. So what I'm saying is if God is pushing you in a direction and you feel like it is from the one true God, that's between you and God. We're not recommending you read anything. You do whatever you and God tell you to do. But we're just talking about the hierarchy here, and that's why we brought it up, that there is a hierarchy. It is mentioned. People have looked at this book, and they can tell us. There's probably a video that talks about, probably somebody has done a video that talks about it so that you don't have to read it or whatever. But if you're interested in the hierarchy, so that's why we came to this book, guys. We're talking about the hierarchy. But God is bigger than Satan all day, and God is certainly bigger than any demon. And so all we're saying is we're talking about the hierarchy. That's why we brought up the book. It's not a recommendation for anybody to do anything.
Even evil has to have a structure in order to exist.
And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was asking, we were talking about the archons specifically when we began talking about any kind of hierarchy. Mm-hmm. So if you ever look at these books that we're talking about, just make sure you pray beforehand. Right. And maybe God will say, don't look at that book. So that's all we're really saying. Right. So go ahead.
If God's ready, if God thinks that you're ready to receive this knowledge, he'll let you know. But Absolutely. If he doesn't think you're ready to receive this knowledge, he'll hold you back until he does know it. You know?
I agree with that. And that's why I say this last video was much harder for me. It was darker. It was even the attacks I usually get that are small. Didn't happen as much because it was just so dark and ugh. But I'm done with it, glory to God. But I'll make connections probably in the future. And sometimes we still have to speak it out, and that's why I do pray for I pray for all my listeners, because I even put warning for graphic content, especially on the original preview, because not everybody is supposed to know everything.
Yeah.
But did you have anything you wanted to still say about that? I didn't want to cut you off too much on that.
About the archons and stuff like that.
Oh, I'm sure you said you could talk about it forever.
Yeah, I could talk about it forever. But I would say there is if you've seen the last time I was on this show, I referred to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/KD7ONE. And on it, I have a video of David Icke talking about the archons, and he explains it all in a scientific way, which is very easy to understand. And he explains the electromagnetic spectrum, and basically it's an interview that he had with a German news reporter. When the German news reporter came to his house over in the Isle of Man and talked to him about it. And he really explains it the best I've ever heard it explained.
And I haven't ever listened to this guy, and here's why. I don't have any feeling good or bad about him.
Mm-hmm.
I just have, how do you choose who you listen to?
Right.
So from what I understand, he does have a lot of good information. Again, I always just say prayer before. What I wanted to bring up something to you real quickly. So when somebody pointed out Eric Dollard to me, guys, and I am going to play this video because it's only 2 minutes. It's extremely interesting. The whole thing. I think I watched a longer one. This is a shorter one, but I'm not saying this guy knows what he's talking about, but he is really smart, and they have shut him down big time. They have bulldozed everything he had. They bulldozed his whole laboratory, whatever. But he talks about the Pythagorean music scale.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
The reason I'm going to ask you this question is I don't know everything. You don't know everything. But from what you have looked at, is Pythagorean a good thing or a possibly bad frequency?
It depends on how it's used.
Okay.
It's like water. You can use it for good, you can use it for bad.
Was Pythagoras just using something that was already there and just discovered then? Or was Pythagoras a bad guy trying to create something new?
Oh, Pythagoras was a philosopher. Pythagoras also was the one who came up with the Pythagorean triangle, the 5, 3, 4. 5 being the census, 3 is the trivium, and 4 is the quadrivium.
Okay.
And you use that to basically get through life so people cannot hold information from you. You can use critical thinking. Because the Pythagoreans triangle is the way that we can use critical thinking to discern what?
Oh, nothing.
Oh, yeah. To discern truth from fiction
Okay. So Revel says he knows something about this, and he's coming on Sunday. So you don't have to get into all that because we'll do it Sunday.
Yep.
So you think Pythagoras was doing a good thing?
I think he was, yeah.
So the Pythagorean music scale is
he was
probably
educating people, yeah.
Probably now Eric Dollard will agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about that.
Yeah.
Let's listen to what he has to say about the sun.
Okay.
So interesting.
There's no inside structure.
Is it hollow?
Yeah, there's only a surface. There's nothing inside.
Is the sun actually, do you believe, combusting in on
It's
itself?
not burning anything. There's no fusion in the sun. That's well understood.
Prove it.
Yeah, well, there's just not the way to prove that there is any. It's only in the flares that you get fusion. That's where all the X-rays. The flares, the arcs, and the X-rays, and the microwaves, and whatever result of fusion in the arcs. There's no fusion in the sun. They don't know how the sun works.
Why do you, what's special, how does the sun make light?
It's a transformer. Transforms from some other dimension. It's not burning anything. It doesn't have to. It's a converter.
Of what?
I don't know. Nobody knows. But that's what it does. That's the only thing it can do because that's how everything works.
Transferring it from another dimension.
Yeah, you can say it's taking energy from another dimension, counter space. There's no energy, actually. Most of it you can't even measure in outer space or see.
You can't see.
No, you can't see the sun in free space.
So the sun is not visible in outer space.
Not in free space. It's only invisible when gross matter becomes involved, like the Earth's atmosphere and envelope and the surface of the moon or whatever. That makes the light. Otherwise, there is no light. You can see the moon, you can see the Earth, but you can't see the sun or can't see the stars.
But you can see the planets and the
Yeah.
satellite.
Right, you can see material objects, but you cannot see the sources of light. There is no light until there's a material object.
To reflect all.
So that means there's no time delay. So the whole time delay thing is meaningless. It doesn't take light years. There are no light years because there's no light. So that means that the light you see from the distant stars isn't 4 million years old. It could be only minutes old. It could be instantaneous. All the theories collapse when you can't see the stars in outer space.
Okay, I'm going to stop that.
Wow.
No, me too, right? So the first time I heard that same thing.
I'd love to see how he can explain that.
He can't. He says it. He doesn't know. Nobody knows.
Well, then-
but he obviously came to that theory somehow, right?
Right, he had to have come to the theory somehow. It's like saying, this microphone does not exist. Even though we can see it, it does not exist. I don't get it. It just blows my mind because I've actually thought, okay, we've been told that the sun is a burning ball of hydrogen.
Uh-huh. With
We
fusion.
know, right. Science tells us that hydrogen burns so many units within so much time. Now, if this sun has been burning thousands of years, how compact is that hydrogen in order for it to burn all this time? You know, this is my running thought process.
Yeah.
Now, if it's been burning all this time, how big was it before when it started burning, as opposed to how big is it now because of all the gas that had been burned off throughout this time? How long will it continue burning? You know?
Right.
We don't know that. But these are the questions that, supposedly keep me up at night, as it were. But yeah, this is really weird. But what Eric just said, that goes far beyond it. But I'd like to know how he can come up using critical thinking skills, who, what, when, where, why, and how. How can he come up with what he said and still not know and still not be able to explain what he's talking about?
Right.
That's what blows my mind.
And I'm going to tell you guys, it's hard to find good video of Eric Dollard because he has been not totally whitewashed, not scrubbed,
Right.
but he's not easy to find and he's not easy to follow.
Right.
It is so mind-blowing that
know.
I have to tuck him away sometimes and go, okay, I now have a headache after listening to Eric
Yeah.
Dollard for 10 minutes.
Yeah. I understand a lot of what he talks about, like the sound frequencies and all that stuff when he was talking about being in the church in San Francisco and with the organs playing and all that stuff. Yeah, totally get that. But this whole thing with the sun and...
So it sounds like, no, hold on. Before you say nah, you talked about the holographic space, or
Right,
holographic Earth.
holographic universe, okay.
Could that fall into the holographic universe somehow?
It's possible. It's possible.
Because he says it in outer space, there's no
Multidimensional,
light.
maybe.
Now, I don't know how you'd know that, right? Because he's not... What is outer space? Is that under the firmament or outside of it? Or is there
Where
a
does
firmament?
space begin?
Right.
Right?
Are we in
Yes.
space?
Right. Does it begin like an inch above the Earth's surface, or does it begin 10 feet above? We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't really. I've never seen a real definition of where space begins. You'd have to probably talk to a NASA scientist on that.
I would not talk to a NASA scientist. I think that'd be the last person I would talk to. However, we do know that the higher we climb, the less oxygen in there is, and there comes to a point where we
Right.
probably need some kind of protection that we cannot breathe up there.
Yes. Well, the people who climb Mount Everest need oxygen.
Yeah. So
And
we
how
do know.
high is
I mean,
Mount
there's some
Everest?
things we
Like
can prove.
20,000 feet.
Right. So, and there's some people that say inside the firmament, the moon is inside. Now, I've seen this. I've talked about this. I found an article that said that, maybe, the moon's inside our atmosphere. I found that article.
The moon is inside our... Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So if the moon's inside our atmosphere, is the atmosphere just up to the firmament? Or is there, they talk about the Van Allen belt. There's obviously a
Van
place that we
Allen
can't cross.
Right.
So why? Is it a firmament? Is it, what is it, right?
Right. It's kind of like that age-old question, if space ends, what would be on the other side? Well, more space. It's simply because we don't know everything that's out there. It's just a theory,
Okay, well, and we know that Eric Dollard has his series.
Yeah.
So we're going to wrap this up for two reasons. One, it's been an hour, but two, my kids are bugging me. But we're not done yet. I think I would ask you a favor if you can. Do you think you could look into this Eric Dollard theory with the sun and everything a little bit more?
I would be very interested in looking into it.
Because I think that you would understand it better than I do.
I respect
Sooner.
a lot of Eric Dollard's work because he was the only guy who recreated Tesla's experiments and Tesla's inventions.
Right.
And I understand a lot of what he's talking about. So with all that, yeah, I'd love to look into it so I can get a better understanding of what he's talking about.
Because this has been the one... Hey, girls, just for a minute. This has been one of the most interesting videos I've ever watched by him. Now, I've watched some stuff by him, and it is confusing. It is... A lot of it's over my head, and I think I could understand it if I spent a little more time in it, but I don't feel like I'm supposed to right now. Like, I've got other stuff I'm doing. Maybe, if you feel like it, you could say, I want to learn a little bit more about what he's talking about here. That'd be awesome, because I think you could probably relay it to me.
Yeah, I can send you an email if I find any links or anything like that.
Oh, that'd be good, yeah. And then for everybody else, we'll just come back together and do this again with some updated Eric Dollard information, because that was the video that just stuck with me the longest and the most, because I was like, this guy is saying some stuff that when I first heard it, I was like, and I couldn't even grasp it. But the more what I do is I think about these things.
Right.
And I think about what other people say, like hollow earth.
Yeah.
That's it. Flat earth with the firmament, and then the hologram universe, the electric universe. He talks about electric universe a lot, I think.
Well, everything's either electric or magnetic, supposedly.
Right. Yeah. So I take all those things and I say, okay, and I start formulating my own educated opinion on it. And I say now, so instead of going, oh, hologram universe doesn't make any sense, I say, could that be what Eric Dollard's saying? Yeah. Or whatever. So that's how I'm starting to group it up. And I would really like it if we could try to come up with some more information on that, on Eric Dollard specifically.
More about this. Learn more about it.
So my kids are being really loud. Please be quiet for just a few more minutes or go upstairs. Alan, shh. So this is John. He doesn't have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you do? He does.
Of course I do. I just said it was...
He does have you guys didn't hear me say that. He does have a YouTube channel.
Let me write it down for you so it's...
Yeah, it needs to be in the description box, which I can put, and I'll type it in here. Now, do you do videos, though, or is it just like your favorite stuff that you watch?
A lot of stuff I do, I download from other people and re-upload on mine.
Okay, so you're uploading.
Right.
He's uploading. He's not just having you. He doesn't just have a playlist of stuff he's watched. So, and do you put anything in the description box to explain why that's the particular video you're uploading? Or is it just kind of...
Well, sometimes the title explains itself.
Okay, there you go. So he does have a YouTube, and he's going to tell us what it is any minute. Do you have... You have Facebook.
I have Facebook.
It's going to be hard to find John Smith on Facebook, though, I feel like.
Okay, let's see if I can get this to the...
Whoa, back up. Oh, that's right. I knew that.
KD7ONE is my amateur radio call sign.
So are those zeros or O's?
That's O. A letter O.
KO7.
Kilo Delta 7 Oscar November Echo.
Oh, yeah, okay. So those are O's.
Right.
KO. Oh, that's a D.
That's a D.
Delta. Oh,
D.
my bad. So Delta.
KD7. I call it KD71. It's 7-1.
There you go.
KD71.
So he does have a YouTube that he uploads. It's not going to be, with us with our blue shirts, obviously. Although you can download this and upload it to there. Yeah. By the way.
Okay.
And then yeah. So
I like to get permission from those people before I do it, because a lot of people don't like to have their videos re-uploaded on other people's channels because they think, oh, they're stealing my work. Well, I'm not trying to steal anybody's work. I'm just trying to pass it on.
Which is something you can do. He's not
Right.
monetized, so
I'm not monetized. I'm not looking for any money for it or anything. The only satisfaction I want is to know people are learning something
Absolutely.
worthwhile.
And he has a Facebook, but do you have a Twitter or is there any other form of social media?
I have a Facebook. It's facebook.com KD70NE. Same thing as my
Same
YouTube
one. Okay.
Right, same one.
I don't have Facebook, so don't even bother looking for me there.
Right.
But do like and share this. And yes, Raffle's coming on Sunday, and he says he knows about something we were talking about. Oh, Pythagorean stuff. So he's going to talk about that.
Yes.
You can tell it's time to go when the kids are getting. So this has been John Smith, who is awesome, and he's been here before. Now you know him again if you weren't here before, and he's going to come back because we're going to do this Eric Dollard stuff. Hey, no, go now. There's going to be trouble. There's going to be trouble. Quiet, seriously.
You know what mom means? Mom means must obey me.
I only have to be nice because I'm on video right now. I can't do all the things I normally do. But anyway, how long? I know you don't know, but how long do you think that will be before you want to kind of gather? Maybe a couple weeks?
About a couple weeks.
Okay.
1 to 2 weeks.
Well, we'll tentatively have him back on in 2 weeks. Maybe 3, maybe 1. So we'll just go with that. It could be 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5. So
Depends on how hard the information is to find and what
Yeah.
information I have.
Or he might come back sooner because he's going to say, I want to talk about something else. That's really
A
fun.
lot
and
of
interesting.
information to talk about.
But what we've learned is that he said, say what you said about going into ancestry. Hey, girls, just be quiet for just 1 more minute.
Doing research into the metaphysical aspects is like doing genealogy. Each generation you go back, you come up with more information to research. So, yeah, that's the only way I can explain it.
Well, so what it is he says, how it starts to branch off and becomes all this
Right.
huge amount of knowledge. We have to kind of, even in our minds, probably more so with him, I don't know. We have to try to come to one thing at a time. So,
Or
if you-
you're going to suffer from information overload.
yeah, and our brains just, and then it's exhausting, and then we get headaches. And so, we'll if there's something you're like, I want to talk about this subject, we'll be pretty good about saying, I think we did a good job with this, and I think it was fun. But I've got to go because my kids are being totally obnoxious. We appreciate you guys, and we are glad you're here. I thank you for being
welcome.
here because he's a wealth of knowledge, guys. And like I said, when I first met him, I was like, whatever. Well, I have a lot of respect for you, and I really appreciate what you know. And I am so glad he's on my gold and silver team with me. He has a 7K Medals website, too. What's your 7K Medals?
Take a guess.
It's the same thing.
Same thing.
Okay, so-
KD70NE.
Yeah, I'm going to type it in there. So,
No.
wait.
No,
Oh.
it's Trivium.
Oh, that's...
Trivium.
should
TRIVIUM.
I should remember that because you were talking about it
Yes.
so much
Trivium.
that I was like, okay, whatever, with this trivium stuff. And that, that might be something that we should talk about it more because I don't know a lot about it. We won't get into it now, but I don't know a lot about it. It's something
Trivium
that
is part of the Pythagorean triangle.
Well,
It's
that's what we might
The
need to
3
look at.
part of the Pythagorean triangle, which, yeah.
So, okay. Yeah, we'll look into it. We'll come to some kind of conclusion. But until then, guys, we're going to say goodnight. I'm going to leave you with a picture that you'll love because, MAGA, right? Well, this one. No, this one.
Sugar.
This one, I think this one is that one. So, God bless you guys.
The lizard people.
Well, this one in particular is Pepe, but,
Yeah.
lizard people are apparently a thing.
Reptilians.
So until next time, guys, we appreciate you. John appreciates you too. And God bless and have a good night. And
Be safe.
yes, and pray in the armor of God over all of you. Good night, guys.